This episode is brought to you by SwitchPod, which is a handheld minimal tripod that I co-invented with my partner Pat Flynn, and we created it so it'd be really easy to hold your camera and film yourself or other people, and then quickly open up the legs of the tripod, set the camera down, and be on your way. So check it out at switchpod.co. And you can use the coupon code Caleb to save $5 off your purchase. That's CALEB. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 82 of my podcast, The Caleb Wojcik Show, where I sit down and interview different kinds of entrepreneurs, creatives, filmmakers, podcasters, YouTubers, all kinds of people that I'm friends with, people who have started software companies, all of that. So in this episode, I sit down with Ben Sullins of Teslanomics, and we talk all about how he built a course-based business around his day job that he'd been doing for 10, 15, 20 years almost, and then how that enabled him to launch a YouTube channel through some trial and error about what kind of content people wanted to watch from him about Tesla, or Tesla as he calls it, and we will get into that in a second. But he's launched a channel called Teslanomics, where for the past 3 years, he's grown one of the biggest channels out there on YouTube and on the internet, talking about Tesla, Tesla news, figuring out whether the car is going to be worth it for you if you drive a certain number of miles and save gas on it, and all kinds of stuff that's very data driven, because that's what his day job was and what his online courses were that kind of enabled him to take the time to build Teslanomics. So we'll also talk about what it's like to grow a YouTube channel, work with a specific company and brand, and get to know the PR people behind it, as well as then we'll just deep dive and talk about Tesla and electric cars and the future of that and self-driving and all kinds of stuff like that. So let's dive right into Ben's background and get started. I want to talk about your background before Teslanomics.
Sure.
Because I think doing the data science stuff and then doing courses, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what enabled you to start it as like a side project, and now it's basically your full-time thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get into that story and how you kind of went all in on something, figured out how to make that passive, and then...
Yeah, it was interesting. So I was just a geek, right? I started working in tech in 97, I think, 98, as a help desk guy, fixing computers at a company called MCI, which is not around anymore. But at the time was like your Verizon level, like telecommunications company, right? The internet was still very new. Like tech as we know it today wasn't even a twinkle in someone's eye. And I was just fascinated with technology, with like how everything worked. And so I found myself there, and really, that was like the pinnacle of technology. Like I was really like doing like tape drive backups and phone switches and stuff like that, into fixing laptops, which were still kind of a new thing. Wireless internet like was barely cool and usable. So just being immersed in it at like 17 years old. And then I found my love for working in Excel. And at the time, we were a call center, so call volumes. So me and some guys there built like a real-time analytics thing in Excel that would take AS400 systems, screenshot them, paste them, run calculations, like all within like 10 minutes or so. We're like getting up-to-date stats. I'm on the phone with like call center supervisors, making real-time decisions and helping us grow our business. And I was just fascinated with like the power of just being able to take raw data, like, imagine every call that your call center's made, run some analytics on it, combine it with some other knowledge and stuff, and bring it into something useful to make decisions on. I was like, well, this is it. Like if money runs, the financial world, data runs the technology world. And that was not really understood at the time at all. It was very much like, oh, you're just a nerd in IT. Right, you're just an Excel junkie, whatever. Like, don't bother me. Now, fast forward, data science is like the biggest thing on the planet.
Yeah,
and look at Facebook and Google. These companies are founded on that. So, I don't know if it was like just serendipitous or if it was somewhat I saw something that was coming, but that's where it started. And so, that was an 18-year-long career of working in data, essentially.
And so, did you just get burned out from that, and you wanted to move into, okay, how can I? Maybe you're hearing about passive income, or you're hearing about online courses, or how did you go from doing it for that long into making money on the internet from it.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. I think I started listening to Pat's podcast, Smart Passive Income,
Okay,
Pat Flynn. I started going down the route with Fizzle and learning like, oh, you can actually just kind of take your knowledge. And at that point, I felt I had a pretty good base of that, especially working in it for so long, and apply it to something that generates an outsized return is the way I like to think of it, right? Because you can join a startup and have an equity stake, and that could later generate an outsized return. Well, shy of that, you can also do it with passive kind of businesses. And so that was really interesting to me. And
we can continue.
Okay.
It's my dog. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's fine.
And so with that, I really started to get that bug of like, oh, I can do more with my knowledge than just trade it one for one for my time. And so I started to make courses. I was working full-time at Mozilla, the guys that make Firefox. This was after consulting at Facebook and working all over Silicon Valley. I was a full-time employee there. We were doing Firefox OS launch, and it was very like surfing. Like sometimes the waves are just coming in and you're just trying to survive. And other times it's just sit there for 20 minutes and nothing happens. Yeah. So I would have, 2 or 3 weeks of like, oh, nothing's going on. And then, hey, next week we're launching in Brazil. Can you build these dashboards and run these analytics and all this stuff? And it's like, oh crap. So 80 hours a week or like 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
So in that kind of downtime, a friend of mine he learned of a company called Pluralsight that is like Netflix for online learning for programming languages and things like that. And he said there's no data content on there at all. There's like just one random course taught by a non-data guy, like a .NET programmer. So you should go check it out and see what's up. And so I emailed him, we went back and forth, and I got accepted. Apparently they have a very low acceptance rate, but I got accepted as an author, one of the first data authors at Pluralsight. And so I just started making courses. And the nice thing there was I didn't have to market or sell or do any of that. Because
they had the platform, they had the audience, they would take a cut of it and basically...
They take a huge cut of it.
Yeah.
But basically I make the course and then I'm done. I mean, even to this day, I think the last time I made a course for them was 2016.
So over 3 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm still making money on those. Obviously it diminishes over time, but that's amazing, right? So I started making courses for them in between, the like boom and bust of the Mozilla work I was doing. And then eventually I met the CEO there, Aaron Sconard, at one of their author summits. And I gave a 5-minute lightning talk, they called them. I sat in the back of the room for 30 minutes listening to other people. And the whole time I'm just thinking like, the data we get as authors really sucks. And this bothers me to no end because this is what I do. And so I downloaded all this data and I made a little dashboard in Tableau software. And so I gave a 5-minute talk, and that was basically the talk. It was like, hey, this sucks. Check this out. And it was like standing ovation. Everyone's like, yes. And Aaron and Greg Woodward and some of the other like C-level folks at Pluralsight were in the room. And it was just like a light bulb went off in their head. Like, I want to work with that guy. So me and Aaron, spent a lot of time that weekend hashing out what would make sense. Because at the time I'm like, you're a little startup doing this thing in Utah. It's cute. It's cool. I'm working with, tens of petabytes of data at one of a premier tech company that has hundreds of millions of users worldwide. Why would I leave that and go with this? It's not interesting enough. And so that's when the conversation really opened up of like, what would be interesting to you? And so we ended, fast forward, we ended up opening a San Diego office, hiring, 30 so people down here, doing all these things for Pluralsight, really helping grow the company, all while I'm still making courses for them. So I just kept doing that and kept kind of pushing on that flywheel of like, generate a course. It was much slower when I was there full-time as an employee because it's kind of moonlighting. But yeah, that really got me going on the sense of like, using something, my knowledge, my experience to do something else that would benefit me financially.
And so for those first courses, I mean, now you have a YouTube channel, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, you have the gear, you have the equipment. Like with those first courses, what did you just film with your webcam and like screen recording?
There's no live video at the time for Pluralsight. It's all screencast. So I think I was using like Camtasia, or there's a Mac based one. I forget what it's called, but ScreenFlow.
Yeah.
ScreenFlow. So I was just using those to record my screen, and probably from you or someone else, I got a Rode podcaster type setup, you know, $300 or $400, and like, you know, that's good enough. And that was it. So that's what I used to make, all those courses essentially. It wasn't until I left there and then I wanted to make teaser videos for my courses.
Okay, like sales videos, launch trailers.
Yeah,
like
here's a tip in Microsoft Excel, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and if you want to learn more about that, go take my full course.
Were you posting those on YouTube?
YouTube,
okay.
Yeah. So that's when I really started to, because I think I mean, at some point, just having a Gmail account created a YouTube channel, right? But I don't think I ever posted a video prior to really doing that. And that's when I started to get into like doing more live video stuff, mostly as just a wannabe teaser for the Pluralsight stuff, which looking back was other than like where it led me, was a completely pointless exercise.
It didn't lead to any sales or?
Well, the way it works is you get a percentage of revenue of their overall membership base based on how many people and how long they watched your courses. So let's say I got 1,000 people to go watch 100% of all my courses. That may, you know, yield like an extra, you know, 100% or something, considering they just sold a MSDN license for every single MSDN user. So like there's like, you know, 5 million people. So in terms of actually making an impact, it didn't matter at all. But it certainly got the wheels going in terms of, I want to like be on camera and do live video and stuff.
So before we transition into how that opened the door for Teslanomics, 2 questions. 1, why say Tesla instead of Tesla? And 2, how did you transition into, okay, I'm not going to, you know, actively work for Pluralsight. I'm going to put my courses maybe other places or on my own platforms too. So Tesla or Tesla?
I say with the Z sound, Tesla. I don't know why. It's just how I've always said it.
Is it because certain people say it that way, or like?
No, I know Elon says it that way.
Okay.
And
I mean, that would be a good reason to say.
Well, that's usually my defense. It's not really a defense. It's more like people give me a hard time about it online, and I'm like, well, go tell Elon that.
Yeah.
When you convince him of that,
I'll change.
I'll change. So, you know, good luck. No, I don't know why. It's just, you know, how I've always said it. I don't. And now I actually use it as sort of a barometer of if my Teslanomics videos are reaching a new audience, because people that have been with me forever, they
know you say it that way.
Yeah, and they're done saying, "Hey, idiot, that's not how you say it."
So if you get a bunch of comments that say it's Tesla, not Tesla, you know, like, ooh, new people watching my videos.
Exactly.
Okay, so how did you go from then, you know, working with a company full time, you know, making courses on the side kind of for their platform? How did you go from, okay, I'm making enough now from just those courses? Was it only selling it through their platform, or did you sell them directly too, or put them on? I know you have some on LinkedIn Learning now.
Well. So what happened was I had a kid. Like, congratulations.
Thank you.
By the way.
You as well.
Yeah,
you had your second.
We just had our second. But I had a kid, and so, you know, startups are fun. And when I joined Pluralsight, we were like 40 or 50 people. That was it. We were in the Layton, Utah office, not even the new office that now is the old office. Like, it was very, very early. And it was awesome. You know, it was me and Aaron and Greg and Brett and a few other, all the C-level folks. And me coming in from this long history of tech companies, of big corporations, small corporations being, hey guys, what are we doing for this? I don't know, figure it out. Awesome, cool. Company intranet, like I just built it in WordPress in a day. Now it's like we have this thing. So it was very like, very fluid, very dynamic. And as the company grew, my role being a VP and then a C-level changed dramatically. No longer was I coding. No longer was I working directly with my team's customers. I was managing 3 different groups across the U.S. We had 8 different offices. It just changed dramatically, right? You went from a small startup that was super fun and just dynamic to, hey, we just need you to come to this meeting and talk to this person, and then go to this meeting and talk to this person. And it just sucked. And, you know, that's just what happens. That's as companies grow, those are just the things. And so with the stress and the politics of like what that brings versus what I had when I started, it just led me to a place where I just really didn't enjoy it anymore. And with my son being, I think 6 months old at the time, I forget when I left, you know, I'd continued to make courses, and those had picked up not equal to my salary, but enough to where, you know, you kind of have that tipping point of like, okay, if I had nothing else to do, I could up my
More
production.
activity, yeah.
Yeah, I could generate 10 more courses instead of 2 this year. And those, maybe not immediately, but over time would yield even more money. So, you kind of have a calculus of like, when is it okay to make that jump? And so, yeah, ironically, April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2016 is when was my last day as a full-time employee. And then I just went on to make Pluralsight courses. I was doing 1 a month, and that was too much for their team. They basically, after I think 4 or 5 months, were like, "Hey, we can't keep up," because I give it to them, and then they have a whole production thing that they have to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that's after my job is done, and so they said we need to slow down, and I'm like, "Guys, I can't slow down. This is how I feed my family.
Yeah.
There is no slowing down." And so we kind of agreed, like, all right, maybe it's not the right time for me to keep making courses with them. And I had a lot of heart-to-hearts with all my old team, all the C-level people at the time, about what would be okay. And they agreed, hey, if you want to go make courses somewhere else, just don't do the exact same courses you did for us, right? Don't make that same one.
Just upload the same videos. Yeah.
Right. Like you could, obviously the same topics are fair game, but not that exact same thing. And so a few people actually from Pluralsight went over to LinkedIn Learning or lynda.com at the time. I think it was a really weird transition of like, it was Lynda, and then it was like when I first started talking to people there, it was Lynda.
Then
like
LinkedIn
a month
bought
later,
it.
LinkedIn bought them and created LinkedIn Learning, and then like 2 months later, Microsoft bought LinkedIn. So it was like a very weird transition of like, by the time I started talking to the time I went there. And those guys were awesome. They were incredible. So they're up in Central Coast, California, in Carpinteria near Santa Barbara. And it was a very different approach that they have, where they're much more hands-on with the actual production aspect, whereas Pluralsight was very much like, hey, you just make it and send it to us.
Yeah.
They're like, no. We've got whisper rooms. We've got producers. Come here. We'll take photos. Like they even have like live studio stages they can make. Like if you want to do a course on interviewing people, they'll like hire actors for you. It's really cool. So I worked with them, and man, I just cranked through them because they did a lot of the post work. So I think I made 13 courses in like 7 months or something with them. It was a crazy pace. But yeah, it was great. And then actually, honestly, almost the exact same thing happened where they were like, hey, we don't have enough production staff to keep up. And I'm like, well, same conversation.
I have more things to teach.
So then I started to make them on my own and publish on my own, which was Free the Data Academy.
Yeah.
So I started to kind of like expand beyond just their platforms, all while those things are generating money and all that. And this is kind of when like YouTube started to really pick up, and I had to make the decision like, okay, more data courses or just YouTube.
Yeah. And so did you, like, you felt like you kind of went somewhere, built a little base, and like picked up and moved to the next platform and like built another base, and like you're kind of building up these different streams of income too. And it eventually just got to the point where enough of that activity was going on, but then you had already started Teslanomics at that point, or just the YouTube stuff you were doing was data related?
No. Well, okay. So like I said, the first videos were teaser videos for my online courses.
Yeah.
Foolish. But
same YouTube channel. If you went back in the archives, they're hidden now.
They're still there.
They're still there.
Yep. I love how bigger YouTubers like Marquez is a good example. You can go watch his first video and he's like, not even in high school or something.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I love that. So I kept all those there. And it's funny, me and Jenny, my wife, just recently went back and we were like, wow, look at like, oh, wow. Like I have a video in particular that comes to mind of, I was pleading with my audience. I'll do a Q&A every day if I could get to 1,000 subscribers. And it was like 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and it was like 3 or 4 months away.
Yeah.
And and that was like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. So I started to really just kind of dive deeper into YouTube. And through there, like one of those was my wife asking me, because we had bought a Tesla when I was still an employee at Pluralsight, and that was largely due to Aaron, the founder of Pluralsight, having one, taking me around in it all the time, and me just freaking out about how awesome they were. Yeah. So we bought one. It was used. I was trying to be financially responsible and all that. But she, I sold her on the idea that we would save money on it. And so she said, okay, well, you're the data guy, so show me the numbers. So it was like, I think it was November of 2016. Right, so I left Pluralsight in April. This video came out in November of 2016, and it was like, all right, here's how much money I've actually saved by owning a Tesla, the monthly cost of owning a Tesla. And 800 subscribers is all I had, I think. And the first week that video went out, it was like 200,000 views.
Jeez.
I was like, boom. like what just happened?
Algorithm picked it up, got recommended, and
Yeah. So literally, like, I don't know if it's the exact sequence, but it's like begging with people to get to 1,000 subscribers, Tesla video. A month later, 6,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
It was just like, so
this is your first Tesla video.
that was my first Tesla video. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was November 2016.
Okay.
And I hadn't really bought into this is it.
Yeah.
I was like, I just thought it was an anomaly. I mean, really, I was really full of myself. And I just thought people just love me talking about data. So I did, this was right around the election.
Okay.
And so very controversial, very in the news. And I thought, oh, well, let me talk about data in the election. And I talked about how 538 misled people and all this other kind of stuff, which I love them, but they did some things that anyways, no one cared about those videos. Zero people cared about me talking about anything that wasn't Tesla. So I did another Tesla video, went nuts, did another one, it went nuts. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that's it, you know,
Yeah.
like, and I don't know if I had met Pat yet, but, you know, listening to a lot of his stuff on the Smart Passive Income podcast, talking about the riches are in the niches and those things. And it was like, okay, well, let me just, I guess if there's a niche to be in, this isn't a bad one. You know, you could be like in some random obscure thing. So this was like a super cool one that I was really interested in. So like, let me just, so I think it was February of, it's actually close to today, February 2017 of, okay, well, that's all I'm going to do on YouTube now. I'll still have my data courses. I'm still making those for LinkedIn, but I'm only going to do Tesla stuff on YouTube. And so that was like the official, Teslanomics was born kind of thing. And I mean, it's obviously been a good ride.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you spent so much time doing this one thing in your life, and you took the time and energy and effort to make it a little bit passive, or mostly passive, to open up the door for you to explore something new.
Yeah.
If you would have maybe still had a day job, you wouldn't have the time to do Teslanomics. You wouldn't have had the freedom to like explore a little bit. And so I think people want to quit their job or, just risk it all and go all in on their thing. But I think you're a data scientist.
Yeah.
And I'm like very logical. Like when I quit my day job, I had another job lined up, even if it paid me less, but it was closer to what I wanted to be doing, which was like running my own business.
Right.
So it was like, take the next step, not like jump all the way to the end. So,
I think that there's like the data science approach is generally make a bunch of observations, find the things that matter, the signal and the noise, as we say, and then just keep doing that. So YouTube was, I'm just making a bunch of random videos about different things, and then boom, I had this one. So all of a sudden I had a signal. And then I'm like, okay, try some more things. Nope. Try that one again. Boom. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it's just like you just keep tugging on that thread, right? And so I think that a lot of any success I've had in my life, even how I got into data from the very beginning, was I found like a thing I could do that I was better at and that people really valued, and I just kept doing that thing. So if you remember, this was at the time. That was like right around the .com era, right? So this is right around the 2000s. And obviously tech was the big thing, and then boom, .com bubble. And then eventually you go fast forward and it was like real estate was the next big kind of thing. And then 2008 happens.
Bubble, yeah.
Right. So you look at it and you go, I just had a thread of like, I know how to take these raw numbers and turn them into something that's valuable for people. Let me just keep tugging on that like my whole career. And then with Teslanomics, it kind of was a similar deal where I found something, and I still bring that perspective to it. Like that's obviously in the name, and every video has like charts and graphs, and that's kind of the thing of it. So it's like very boring by like YouTube standards, but it does well.
I mean, like the target market for, now where Tesla's cool, like early on, I mean, it was cool. It's always been cool.
Yeah.
But the people that are making that big of a financial investment in a vehicle, typically it's because they treat it as an investment because I'm going to spend this much money on the car, but I'm going to save this much in gas. And so there is usually that calculation. And I think there's probably a lot of husbands trying to convince a wife that, look,
that was
like,
exactly
watch
it.
Ben's video. Like this is how much we could save in gas. I do they make their own spreadsheets. And I mean, I've done those calculations too. And because I work from home, my wife works from home, like we haven't bought one yet. But if I was driving more, like I only drive like 10,000 miles in a year.
Yeah.
With both of our cars put together. Yeah. So like
you don't really need a car.
Right.
And that's probably the smart decision, right? And even from better for the planet decision, it's probably better that you just keep those.
We've had that conversation. Is it like better to buy a new electric car or keep an old gas car?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, really.
I'm sure you have a video on that.
I don't know if I do.
Other people probably have.
That guy, Adam Ruins Everything, Adam Conover.
Okay. Yeah.
That show, amazing. Yeah. He did a video and he talked about that. Yeah. Of course, they kind of cherry pick things to move their narrative along. Yeah. So it's a true context, nuanced discussion is not interesting on YouTube. So, but anyways, yeah, it's an interesting discussion. I think if you have a car and it works fine, and probably keeping it is better. Because to buy a new car, that means that all the CO2 and junk that was made to do that car, just build it. Even if it is an electric car, you won't recoup that. Even though your current one is, it'll take many years. So who knows? It's kind of an up in the air thing. Yeah. I would say if it's to the point where like you need a new car, then go electric. Yeah. But until then, I wouldn't really stress about it, right? I think most cars that I've had, you get to the point where like it's like, oh, I need to go into repair. It's $700. Crap. Then 3 months later, it's another $500. Yeah. And you just keep hitting these marks of like, $500-600. That could have been
a car payment or.
And you look at it and you go, okay, enough is enough. And not even just the money of it, just dealing with it is a pain in the butt. So, so I think, everyone has to do that kind of calculation and figure out what's right for them.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm just thinking of a collaboration video we could do. I could get my 2004 Toyota Camry washed and we could do a drag race. We could do we'll do like the test that they do with cars to be like, which one's better? And it's like, clearly the Tesla is better. But I mean, I actually put money down for one and the next morning I canceled the order.
The Model 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because I did the math. And it didn't
and one thing about Teslas is that there's never like the perfect one. It only lasts for so long before a new one comes out that makes the other one look kind of foolishly old. So I mean, until you absolutely need it, I would say don't, go buy one because you'd feel pretty dumb if it was like, oh, I bought it, I don't really drive it, and then like, oh, here's this brand new one that comes out that makes mine look like a dinosaur. Yeah. Like that would suck. Yeah. So just don't do that. Right?
And the car that I have, I got used right before I started my job after college. And it was like, I had two choices. My grandpa would like go to auctions. He'd always have like used cars that he would sell to like our family basically. And it was a red Trans Am.
Yes.
Or a black Camry. It was like the most vanilla thing and the most like outrageous thing. And I got the Camry and I mean,
it chose poorly.
It has I don't think the Trans Am would have 250,000 miles on it.
That's probably true.
So it'd be in that repair cycle. But I really want my car to be green. Okay. I've even texted you like, okay, so how much does it cost to wrap a Tesla and like do it right?
You mean green, the color?
Yeah, green. Right. Yeah. Green in multiple ways, but I meant the color. And
it's expensive.
And so I look at used green Model S's all the time.
Yeah.
And they're cheaper than a Model 3, but
well, and
I don't love the tan interior and first world problems.
I'm a fan of the Model. I've done lots of videos on the Model S is easily my favorite car because it has the best combination of utility and still sportiness and tech and all that things.
And like luxury and
I mean the Model 3 is great. Like currently brand new. If I were to buy any Tesla, it would be a Model 3. Other than Model Y, which isn't being delivered
value
yet.
For dollar kind of thing, or
well, the Model S and Model X currently lack the ability to do V3 charging, which is a pretty big deal. It really is. But if you don't want a brand new car, if you go used, then I think a used Model S for me and having two kids is a much better buy. Like in their Model 3, if we want to go to the beach, it barely fits everything. I mean, it's not a small car. It's just how some of the things are positioned that make it difficult for that kind of a use case. So, but if you're like, single, no kids, Model 3, 100%, go for it. Yeah. Like it's easily the dopest one of them all from a driving standpoint and fun and all that. But it doesn't have some of the function and stuff of the Model S. So I mean, it's like, there's no one universal right answer here. It's depending on the situation.
So you had a few videos start to take off. You branded yourself. From there, what worked and what didn't? So you were starting to grow just organically because there's interest in Tesla. You're making data-driven videos about it, which is probably different than other people talking about it or just reviewing it, their cars or speculative stuff.
Right.
What started to work really well, and what are some things maybe that haven't worked when content-wise, like on YouTube?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time trying to think about this because it's really difficult, right? Like I don't have a direct connection with my audience through YouTube. I have to go through the algorithm in order to get to them.
So you have to play the game.
Yeah, you have to play the game a little bit, and it sucks, but that's how it is, right? Some people
Like you've built an email list still and that sort of thing. But
I've done those
it's
things.
fractions of the size of.
Exactly, right. Like Patreon is like 125 people, and I love all of them. I mean, it's amazing. But then you look at some of the other folks out there, like a Matt Diavella, who has like a couple thousand people on Patreon. It's like, okay, cool. He has like a direct connection. But on YouTube, he have a couple million subscribers. So the magnitude of those things, it's difficult. So you kind of have to play the game, which I don't like. I would love to just be, Model S review. And it'd be like, yes, but
how is it going to stand out now? Yeah.
Right. Some people have earned that, like MKBHD doesn't have to do those kind of things.
Right.
Casey Neistat, people that are like the real top
people
tier.
see the name and that's enough.
That's enough, yeah. But for us normies down here, that have to play the game a little bit, I've really tried to focus on what I think the audience wants. And then anything else that doesn't fit within that is out. And I don't know if I have that totally dialed in.
Yeah.
But for me, I've settled on it has to be a consumer product or service, and it has to be in the sustainable tech genre.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to, but it also ideally would save people money.
Okay.
So those are kind of the three areas, right? So anything within that. So if someone asked me to review a product on, I don't know, leaf blowers or something, I always make fun of that. Like, I guess it maybe technically fits, but it's just not interesting.
Yeah.
And then part of it too is, so knowing your audience and what they want and just giving them more of it. Like I may do videos randomly about things that I'm interested in, knowing full well that no one's going to care.
It won't do as well.
Yeah. I mean, a third of the views I get on that one, is what I'll get on that versus a normal one.
So before you publish which videos are going to do well sometimes?
Not exactly. Like YouTube still is a bit schizophrenic.
It'll still surprise you, but.
Yeah. But, I'm at the point where I've been doing it long enough to where I kind of know... I can guess fairly well if it'll do. Like I'm, moneyballing it in my head always. Like I don't need home runs here. I just need base hits.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not trying to be Mr. Beast or do something crazy like that. I'm just trying to come out with consistent content that's valuable to my audience, and gets a consistent response. Every now and then, one pops out. Other times, they don't do as well. But I'm just trying to maintain like some level of sanity. Really, is what it comes down to. Because you'll just run yourself ragged and kill yourself if you're trying to chase like these big numbers that you see other people do. But yeah, so I think I've figured out, or at least I'm able to produce a consistent amount of engagement with my videos. But then, the other part is not only knowing that, but the timeliness is for me super important.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Because Tesla announcements, live events that you have to attend, speed of uploading the video before other people that are talking about it. What's that like?
Super valuable.
Crunch line, timelines sometimes.
I'll give you an example. And here's another reason why Marquez, MKBHE is the GOAT right now. Because we both go to the Cybertruck event. We're hanging out. I see him there. We both know we're doing a video later. I leave trying to get a jump on this, right? Because I know he's gonna crush it.
Yeah.
He's
gonna go back to the hotel room.
Yep.
Film the A-roll.
Got it.
Edit it on his iMac Pro.
Yeah. So I'm following suit. I'm trying to be there. Knowing he's gonna do better, but just seeing, look, if that's what is the best, cool. I'm gonna try to strive for that as much as I can. So prior to even going to the event, I had my filmer with me, and we went to our hotel and set up lights and cameras and everything. So we go to the event, shoot B-roll, do the thing, have the experience. Don't drink alcohol. Don't enjoy the party at all. This is a work event for me, right? Don't really socialize or do any of that. Come back to the hotel as soon as okay, there's nothing more interesting happening here. Come back to the hotel. Yeah, lights and stuff are already set up, ready to film. Sit down, film, do the thing. Editing. I mean, the problem I had was my laptop, as good as it is, I think 16 gigs of RAM, 8 core, blah, 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 took 4 hours to render the video. And that was just an absolute killer. But I was up till, I guess I just didn't sleep. I was up till 5:30 a.m. waiting. I think I fell asleep for an hour or two while it was rendering. And then as soon as it was done, published it and then went back to sleep kind of a thing. But I get back to the hotel and I'm editing, or I just finished shooting my A-roll, and I look, and Marquez already published his video. And I'm just like, how is this possible? So I text him, and I'm like, dude, what is going on? He's like, I'm actually at the airport right now. But I'm just like, forget it. Like, game over. Like, I give up. Like, you are the GOAT. Like, for real. That is but you know, and then I watch his video. I'm like, oh, he did voiceover with nothing but B-roll. Oh, so he didn't have to have a lighting in studio and then render raw 8K red footage on his laptop or something ridiculous like that. But yeah, so you learn those things, but that is super, super important. Because I got that video out and, you know, went to sleep for 2 hours and woke up and it had 60 or 70,000 views, which is crazy for me. Like that's like, I maybe get 4,000 or 5,000 views the first hour on an average video. So that blew up. And I think a part of it wasn't just that I had the timeliness, but also that I was there and that I had footage that other people didn't have.
Right.
So that is like worth money, like legit dollars, you know, just getting that out quick and having unique kind of perspective on it. And later looking back, there was way too much talking head A-roll. No one cares. No one wants to see my goofy like show me the stuff that I haven't seen yet. I saw Tesla's webcast. I saw Marquez's video. I saw a couple other videos. But I need to see.
Show me the test drive. Show me different angles or things they didn't really show. And,
exactly. Yeah, because that's what people want. They don't want, you know, my mug in their face talking about stats. That's not interesting in that moment. Do that video a week later.
Yeah, when, you know? When your fans are still there.
Right.
So if you're making like a really timely thing, be like, what is someone that doesn't know who I am or doesn't care about me? Yeah. Like remove yourself from it. Maybe there's some ego that you need to overcome.
It's difficult for me. Yes. But no, that's very right. So I actually have a template I use when I script a video. I don't really script, but I have like talking points. I have a narrative. I have a structure to every video. And at the very beginning, I have a thing that I saw probably on a Tim Schmoyer video where he talked about who's the audience for this video. Is it internal or external? Right. So an internal video might be looking at a brand new software update for Tesla. Yeah, people that are Tesla owners are going to care. General population, unless the thing can fly, are not going to care. Yeah. Right? They're going to be like, whatever. Yeah. So you have to think about that. So in this case, I totally missed the mark in that regard because I'm thinking, you know, I'm a part of this thing that they want to see. I am definitely not. and a good point of that is the second video I put out later that day. So I put out 2 videos, you know, within 24 hours. The second one had a completely unedited test drive. And it was from actually my filmer's camera, who he had a A7 III, so low light was actually extremely well, and it looked great. And but yeah, it was like a full like 4 minutes of just completely unedited footage, just doing like this with the camera inside. People, that video got way more views than the other one. And so you just look at it, and for me, because of the niche that I'm in, timeliness absolutely matters. Like, so the Model Y is coming out. As soon as that thing gets delivered, like people with the first videos on it are going to be, you know, crushing, right? Of course, we'll do 10 videos on it eventually. Yeah. But like the Mac Pro or something, right? The first person to get it.
Yeah.
Right. So
what's your strategy for when the Y comes out? Are you going to like follow the hashtag, see who has one, reach out to them, the DMs, go to their house, like try to record a video with, because like you're probably not going to get one of the first ones.
No, I ordered it at the event, at the Model Y unveiling right then, so I should be early. But Tesla actually is, you know, they had some changes in their communications team, and they're actually very open and embracing folks
working
like myself,
influencers, and
right? And like they'll always do that for the MKBHDs of the world who have these massive audiences, but to come down to like my level and still be like, hey, we like your content, we see the value in it, even if I don't have 10 million people watching a video. So they're very recently have made a change in that regard. Like they let me borrow. I did a review of a brand new Model S, the Raven Edition performance one, and they just gave it to me for a week to drive to CES. And so I was able to do it on a road trip. I was able to do V3 charging and autopilot and launch mode and blah blah blah. And they totally were just like, yeah, we'll have a guy bring it down. We'll do this. We'll do this. So it's not a paid review at all, but access was something. And yeah, that video did well. So I think, hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, Tesla will be like, okay, we got Model Ys, their production cars ready to review. Yes, you'll have some, you know, the big timers like Casey and those kind of people getting them. But, you know, fingers crossed, they'll also send them, you know, some of them our way, regardless of when I get my own. When I get my own, it'll be, you know, additional videos, deeper context of like delivery experience or 1 week in. And but it'll be cool, you know, hopefully they'll I'll have some for us to use to test.
When did that connection with, you said they have a new communications person, but like,
Yeah.
when did the first time when like Elon replied to you on Twitter or like someone from Tesla like worked with you, like how long were you doing content and like growing stuff until they like started paying attention to be like, okay, this guy's selling cars? Was it like your referrals went?
It was the referrals. Yeah. But actually it wasn't even, I mean, probably if I have a skill that I feel proud of, it's the ability to connect with people. And that's how I'm able to make friends with a lot of different folks. And it's, I'm never doing that in a exploitative way where I want to be friends with, Casey or someone like that to get something out of it. I'm generally interested in people and I'm always trying to connect with folks. So what happened was I got invited to a private VIP showing of the factory at the Tesla factory through the referral program. And through the referral program, I got to go there and meet Tesla employees, and not just like a factory worker, but like people on the PR team and people here and people there. So very early on, I got to like say, hi, I'm Ben, I do this, it's what, basically I'm playing it down because like they're talking to CNBC and like legit, mainstream media. Mm-hmm. So I still am nobody, but then I was even less of a nobody. And so you had this kind of like, okay, well, hey, yeah, keep in contact. They do that kind of thing. Yeah. Here's my card. You email them. You never get a response. And then one day at the Model 3 delivery event, I emailed them in advance. I said, hey, can I film? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. Like, that's really cool of Tesla just to be like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Like, they're very supportive. Well, I don't think they knew the level that I was going to take that to. So I get in the Model 3 test drive. And I'm like, GoPro, suction cup in the windshield, bink, light, suction cup over here. The whole thing's lit up, cameras. I'm just like, let's get this whole thing. I came back from the test drive and one of the PR people were like, what are you doing? They were like, you're not allowed to bring lights and camera gear. I'm like, well, you said I could film. Like, I don't know.
What's the difference? Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I guess that's when I really started to get to know the PR team.
By getting in trouble. Yeah.
I got in trouble, but it was kind of just and I don't think I published any of that stuff, not intentionally, just a matter of like, okay, well, I didn't know that, sorry. And, I'm not someone that's going to be like breaking news or, a gotcha kind of a thing. That's not my gig. So, but that, so back then, and still very much nobody. Then we raised money for a couch. I don't know if you remember that.
Tell me this story. So I think it was, well, it was some news segment went and like did a tour of the Tesla factory and like talked to Elon and they like went to his office and he said like, this is the couch I sleep on or something. Isn't that what happened? It was what was it? Like 60 minutes? It was
Gail King.
Okay, so like Good Morning America.
CBS Morning or something. Yeah. And yeah, exactly right. Yeah, they show the couch he's sleeping on and I'm like, what is this? This is like the worst conference room.
Yeah, billionaire person.
Yeah, multi-billion. This is the worst conference room couch I've ever seen in my life. It's not even like if he's like, hey, this is where I'm sleeping. It's like the cloud couch, and he's got blankets, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like I would get that, but I saw it, and I'm like, that is embarrassing. Like he literally could have just snapped his fingers, say, hey, you 5 guys, go build me an apartment over there. And they would happen, right? Like he has that kind of power and money. Yeah. So I was just like, this is absurd. So as a joke, I created a GoFundMe to buy him a couch, like a legit nice couch.
What was your launch strategy for that? Like, did you make a video for it and everything?
Okay, so at the time, I was trying to optimize my content. Oh, you asked me earlier about things that didn't work. Yeah. This didn't work. I had a news show I would do on Mondays. And I would just come in and talk about 5 news stories from the previous week because Tesla's always blowing up. Yeah. And then I would have a guy actually cut those down into highlight videos and publish one every day. So my thought was I'm going to hack the algorithm in that it's going to think I'm publishing unique content every single day. But the truth was nobody was watching them because they had already saw the one. Oh, gotcha. So I don't need to see the same thing again. So they would skip half my videos and things actually started to go like this. So that was like a bad move trying to trick the algorithm in any way. But in that show, literally 10, 15 minutes before, I created this GoFundMe and, did a little screenshot. It was like, this couch is not acceptable or something like that. And on the show, it was like, okay, guys, well, we got to do this. We got to pull together. And did it, and it went crazy. The first day, it was like $5,000 raised for buying Elon a couch.
And then you're Googling, what's the most expensive couch I can buy?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think originally I had a $1,000 limit.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I told my wife about it, and she's like, $1,000, that's not even a good couch. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, no, like if you want a nice couch, no, like $5,000 is about where you're at, price point. And there's probably obviously way more expensive ones, but if you want a nice couch for Elon Musk, like, come on, step it up. And so I'm like, okay, so I raised the limit. And then GoFundMe actually called me and said, hey, like, is this real? Like, you're trending on GoFundMe.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, yeah. They're like, okay, well, before anything happens, you have to actually put in there basically like what you're going to do with the money and all that. So it's not just like you scamming people to raise money for yourself. Like they had to have some. Yeah. So I started talking with GoFundMe, and then that thing just kept blowing up. And then it was like on the Ellen show and all these other big outlets. I'm getting phone calls from reporters, and it was just nuts.
So how much did you end up raising?
I think it was like $9,000. I stopped it at 72 hours. I think I said, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
Like, let's just stop. Because I hadn't even been in contact with Tesla about it. I literally just random idea, let's see if this works. And the internet did what it does.
Yeah.
And so I shut it down after, I think, 72 hours or something like that. And then reach out to Tesla because from the Model 3 thing where I got in trouble, I got a few contacts now. Said, hey,
I don't know if you've seen this thing.
Yeah, it's like a weird thing. I just kind of, I don't know. What do you want to do? I fully expected them to just say, no, thanks. Just donate the money. Mm-hmm. And they're like, no, we'll take the couch. I'm like, really? You'll what? And so they're like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll take a couch. And I'm like, okay, great. So let's actually do the thing. And then Article reached out, who makes furniture, and then Wayfair eventually reached out as well. And they said they're going to donate the couch. And so I worked with Wayfair, and I mean, I'm literally emailing like Elon Musk's like team, his like chief of staff or assistant or whoever, like, which couch would Elon prefer? It's just the goofiest, like, never thought my life would lead to that moment. Yeah. So we figure out the right couch, and I fly up there to deliver it. I was on his schedule to meet with him and stuff, but he got held up at the Gigafactory and we couldn't meet. Yeah. Next day was earnings call, so I was like, forget it. But I think that was maybe when I really got to know more of their comms team. And I'm like the couch guy now. I think I'm probably still, like, every now and then I'll talk to one of them. They're like, hey, I just took a call from your couch. It's stupid. Yeah, but that's what the internet is. And the one thing I love about Tesla is they're just, playfulness, I guess, this kind of sense of joy and not being, I don't know, like a more rigid, staunch corporation or something like that.
I've worked at General Motors before.
Yeah, there you go.
I interned at GM, what was this, summer of 2006 at their newest factory in Michigan. And not everyone, a lot of people that worked there were like, you don't want to work here. Like this, you don't want to work in the auto industry. You don't want, like, it's on the decline. And then, like, government had to bail out, I think, 2 of the 3 major ones, not Ford, right? I think they bailed out GM. So
GM and Chrysler,
that different environment than what I see from Tesla or like SpaceX launches and everyone's screaming. And so it's just like, I think you can have fun with technology and doing hard things and tight deadlines. And
they totally do. I think that's their secret sauce, really. It's not necessarily any of the things they've actually produced. It's the ability to kind of embrace that uncertainty and try things that no other people are trying. And, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But, like the Model X Falcon Wing doors, I would say were probably a mistake. As cool as they are, things like that. But yeah, so that's when I really started getting in contact with them. And so since then, it's just been like, as the channel's grown, so has kind of my relationship and connection with them. So, so hoping, fingers crossed, I get a Model Y before, just a review unit for like a day or 2 or something. So,
what is your business model with the channel, and what percentage of your revenue or income comes from Teslanomics versus still your courses, your data courses?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I just started to take on sponsors. So sponsors are a huge part now in terms of the amount of money I get from those. And I'm happy to do it because I've finally reached a level where I'm able to do it in an ethical way, or how I perceive as an ethical way. So sponsors are there, AdSense is there. I'm not really a big fan of the merch thing that a lot of people do. I personally don't like to wear goofy t-shirts with logos on them and things like that.
Did people ask you enough for them, and so
Yeah.
you made it?
Yeah. I have, I think, 2.
Okay.
I made 2 originally, and I'm like, cool, there you go for the techie nerds out there. And I would wear them on video sometimes, but that's it. So I even had like a guy that was like a designer, was just going to make shirts for me, and I would just say yes or no to. I'm like, it's not me. It's not what I want to do.
Distraction, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. If like maybe Marine Layer came to me and were like, hey, you want to be a spokesperson for something? Okay, cool. I would do something like that because I like their stuff and it fits and whatever. But no, so I don't do affiliate, or I don't do merch, but affiliate income is the other one. I don't know why I never got on that earlier. It is so much easier than doing sponsored videos. And as long as it makes sense, and as long as I actually believe in it and like actually use the thing, it's totally like fits that ethical bar for me. So like Truebill is one that I did a sponsored video on. I legit found it because I was looking for this thing. I'm like, this is amazing. Used it for a week, and then I'm like, do they have an affiliate program? Oh yeah, boom, and then did it. And like the first day, 600 people signed up for it. I was like, oh, brilliant! Like it actually helped people. So affiliates, sponsors, AdSense are the typical things. Overall revenue, it's probably about 50-50 now.
Okay.
It was like 90-10.
Yeah.
But then now that I'm doing sponsors and the videos are doing more views, yeah, it's more about 50-50 now. And then probably as the old online courses slowly kind of retire and decline, it'll become 100%. So
Are you done with courses on data science? So you've said what you want to say, even if software updates or anything like that, you're just kind of like,
yeah,
I'm done with that. And
yeah, and it's nothing to do with that. It's I think I saw a Casey Neistat video that was like, and this is not his thing, but it hit home with me the idea of like, for Tarzan to get across the forest, he has to let go of one rope to grab the next. Yeah. That's exactly it for me. I spent 20 years doing nothing but data, and I love it. It's still hugely influential in just my life, but also in Teslanomics. So I still carry it on, but like teaching people the latest R or Python, techniques or D3 or any of those technologies. No, it's like there's so many people out there. I'll let them all do that. I'm not really interested in doing it because now my job is I'm a YouTuber, which is like a wannabe hack filmmaker, right? I
was going to ask what you consider yourself title-wise. Would you say like a journalist or like a commentator on tech, or like would you consider yourself, I don't like the word influencer personally, but like you are influencing people on whether they invest in a Tesla or maybe...
when I describe it to people, I say I have a show on YouTube. I'll say YouTuber if I'm trying to impress an 8-year-old, which once they learn of what I do, I'm not actually like what they picture of it as a YouTuber.
You don't unbox toys or like prank people.
Right. Yeah. I don't fit that mold. Yeah. But I would accept if someone said I'm a tech YouTuber or Tesla YouTuber, I would accept that. Because I think the word YouTuber kind of encapsulates all those things. Maybe, content creator, digital content creator is another genre there, or another box I would fit into. But yeah, it's hard because what I do is very different than like what a lot of other people do, right? So my work often starts with massive data sets and analyzing them to figure out something interesting, right? Or having a question and then finding data, like anytime you see a chart or a graph in my video, like I created that. I didn't just copy it from some other website or anything. Like I legit generated that myself. And lately learning After Effects, it's animated because I learned how to do that. Yeah. So I guess content creator is probably a general enough term. But the way it works is, I'm a lighting guy, I'm a sound guy, I'm a video, like I'm all the things. Yeah. And I'm like maybe better at some than others. But it's a weird box to be in.
Do you ever feel like the name you chose boxes you in, or do you feel like Tesla's doing enough stuff that you're busy enough making enough content? There's enough cars and solar and all these other things going on that you feel like it's not boxing you in? Or have you tried to branch out to do non-Tesla stuff that's still like in the energy sector, or all these other electric cars that are coming out?
Yeah.
Are
So
they going to be like, do we want to be on a channel that just has Tesla in the name? You know, like, have you
Well,
thought about some of this
I can
stuff?
tell you a story about that too.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have thought about it a lot. In fact, people don't know this, but going into this year, I was just going to drop Teslanomics from the name and just have it be
Just
my
be
name.
your name. Yeah.
Yeah, because right now it's Teslanomics with Ben Sullins, so it's still my name there. It's still, I am the thing. But I thought about it a lot. I talked to a lot of my friends, a lot of people that are much more tenured in YouTube than I, and a lot of them just said, like, unless Tesla's suing you, just leave it. It's a kind of like an easy name to remember.
Mm-hmm.
It's catchy. It sounds good. It has Tesla
Probably
in
helping
it.
you rank when people search Tesla.
Right. Yeah. So it has value, and Tesla and I have a very great relationship. There are like thousands upon thousands of other people with social media accounts that have the name Tesla in it in a much more direct, copyright infringing kind of way, not like combined it with another word, whatever. But I did change the tagline because it used to be decoding the data behind Tesla. Now it's exploring sustainable tech. So in earlier, like I mentioned, how I've kind of honed in on what people want, the consumer products that are in sustainable tech that are also like, saving you money in some way or another. I am interested in looking at other products. And so recently I did a Ford Mach-E video, which is their new electric vehicle. The Porsche Taycan I reviewed. And so, as this industry grows, unless I like really need to change that name for some legal reason, which I don't, it doesn't appear that, I think it's just easier to remember and easier to say. And so I don't have a problem keeping it. That's the plan for now. Like I said, unless something else comes up. But it is funny because I was at CES and I hung out with the Ford team, and these are all the like legit like C-level people at Ford. The guys that are in their team. 40,000 employees that work for them, and their budgets are like in the billions because they're buying batteries for the whole company. And I'm being introduced as like a YouTuber with a show called Teslanomics. And they're like, what's this guy? It should be like something else. It should be like, MSNBC or I don't know, whomever. But I've never had any negative reaction from it at all. The Porsche team, super cool. And little known secret, like they all actually love Tesla. They really do. When you talk to them, the Ford team, they're very much like, I mean, their stance was, well, we couldn't be making this mass market car, this electric mass market car, if Tesla didn't prove to people that an electric car is okay. We couldn't do that as Ford because we're too old and slow. It just doesn't fit with what they're not a innovative, young, fun brand, but Tesla is. So a lot of those guys, whenever I've talked to them, I've never heard somebody say anything negative. And now maybe that's what the story they want me to
to your face
but it seems very apparent that, I mean, and so whereas the community itself may take these things in a totally different way and be ultra cultish and fanboyish, just like Apple versus Android or something like that. Like, I've been in tech forever. I don't really care about Apple versus Android. It's like I use Android and I like to tease Apple fanboys. That's it. Like, to me, it's funny. But Apple makes great products, right? Objectively, like their laptops and their phones are fantastic. I'll never own one, but that doesn't mean that they're not good. So I think that it's just perspective and stuff. But it was kind of funny going around to all the Ford people being like, oh, this is the Tesla guy. Kind of like, what's he doing here kind of thing. But
I was curious because I do see people label themselves with a company, for example. Like, how many channels out there are like Apple this or Mac this?
Right.
And so even like macrumors.com and like all these places that pick a name that, like you said, niches down, but potentially can silo them. So I think now once you reach a certain level, it's okay to go broader at that point and start talking about other things.
Yeah. I talked to Marquez about this because I asked the same question, and he and a lot of those guys are like, well, I've just been doing it for so long that I just cover everything. I cover whatever I want. But now, if you looked at the tech YouTuber space, it's super, super niche, like way down to the apologist kind of thing and like the anti thing. And it's just like, so I don't know. And I guess in the Tesla like niche, if you call it that, I was, I guess, kind of early. Like there's certainly people that had been doing it a while, but I was there with a lot of the, if you look now at all the biggest channels, I'm like one of them. And so, it's because we all kind of grew up together. So I think, like maybe I've elevated, like if you were to start a new Tesla channel, you'd probably not want to try to do what I do. You'd probably want to be more focused on a specific thing, like people that have just Model 3 channels or like Model Ys coming out, just Model Y dedicated, whatever. And then eventually you can grow out of that. But clearly it's a good way, I think. And none of it was ever intentional. I just like, no one cared about any video I did but a Tesla video. So fine.
Yeah.
you know?
When you were saying that you actually don't really consume other YouTube channels that are about Tesla, you either get your information straight from press releases or other sources or things like that, and you try not to consume people that are doing what you're doing or like similar stuff.
100%. Yeah. And it's not to like, it's more of my own fault that I can't consume someone else's video about a topic that I want to make a video on and still make my objective video. I can't do that. Like I see someone else's and it influences me to where now that's what I'm thinking. And I just want my thoughts to be my own. Like I may watch some other people's videos after the fact, or maybe if it's, like if Marquez does a video, of course I'm going to watch it because whatever, like I love what he has to say, but people that are just focused on this, I don't want their view to spoil kind of my view of it. And so I don't follow any other Tesla YouTubers. I'm friends with everybody. Like we all hang out. I'm all cool with them. I'm happy to help anybody in any way I can. But I personally really actively try to avoid any content like that just for that reason, right? So because I want my audience to hear what I actually think about it instead of, just me regurgitating, the first person that got the video out.
Does it keep you... Like, do you research what other people have made videos about to come up with ideas for yours, or do you try to keep that separate too? Where you just
I don't
blinders on, make what I want to make for the people that I'm making videos for.
It's run your own race, right? I am happy when anyone else makes a good Tesla video and it goes well, or like Elon retweets it. I'm not jealous at all. I really love every time I see that. It's because to me, it's the rising tide lifts all boats analogy. Like, yes, like more people doing this means that I'll have more opportunity. That means more people generally interested. So that's the way I view it at all. But yeah, so in terms of like content strategy, how do I pick what videos to make? A lot of it, and I've talked to some other tech YouTuber friends, so if you're Peter McKinnon or Casey Neistat or someone like that, you can make a video about anything, really, anything you could imagine. And that may sound like freeing, but the truth is that they have to think of those things.
Yeah.
I don't. Cybertruck. Yep. Guess what? Going to make 5 videos on it, guaranteed. I can already plan them out. I can kind of lay it out. Model Y is coming out soon. Yep. Going to make a bunch of videos on that. So it's almost easier in the sense of the content strategy. And then
to have less freedom.
It's straightforward. Like if you cover Apple, great. You just know, like in advance, generally the things that are happening.
WWDC, you're going to have iPhone release.
Right. Yeah. You can kind of, it's easier. Yeah. You're more niche or more limited, but that doesn't mean you like make less money or whatever. You still get to have your creative freedom, but you're kind of on a train that's going a certain way. So in terms of that, obviously any big things happening with Tesla, those are guaranteed I'm going to cover. In between, I like to explore maybe other things that pop up, or I pay attention a lot to different news outlets, and with them, often they're a little bit ill-informed about some of the context behind some of the things. So often I'll see some kind of threads about like autopilot this or auto whatever, and then I'll try to think, okay, would my audience care? Do the people that watch my videos really care to understand this thing they're hearing in the news more? And if so, can I do something about it? And then usually the answer is yes. And so that's kind of where I draw inspiration from, is I try to like really keep a pulse on what the Tesla community or the people that want Teslas are interested in, and try to make videos to help bring what I can bring, like the analytical view of that, to help them like understand those things a bit more.
Do you set aside time to specifically do that, or it's just kind of organic where you're just like
it's
kind of
pretty
stay
organic
in the loop and see what people are commenting on your videos and follow threads like you said through Twitter and Reddit?
Rarely do I see stuff where somebody commented on a video and I go make something on that. Usually I just see things on Twitter a lot. That's probably my number one place I check that I'm active on. I don't go on Reddit at all or any of those things. But I think I have some Reddit feed that pops up in my news feed. I use Feedly. So yeah, and from there, what I do, it's pretty organic. It's like, you're in the shower, you're about to go to bed, and you're like, oh, that's I need to make that video right now. And so I use Trello to kind of organize those thoughts, and I just drop them in there. And then I'm actually looking to get a team of like writers going. So it'd be like, hey, here's the general idea. Can you go research this for me and bring all that together? And then I can take what they brought together and kind of make a script out of it and do the graphics and data and all that. So trying to kind of mechanize that a little bit more but yeah, I mean, mostly it's just like being really deep in it, seeing it. But, of course, the hard part is then I'll do a video on something that is so niche that no one cares. It's like I did a thing, I don't know if you saw it, it was called the Roadie Review. This is like for Sentry mode in your car. Mm-hmm. The biggest pain is you have to like pull the USB stick out, pop it into your computer, and then there's 4 cameras, I think, for every video clip. So you can go grab a sandwich with your car parked on the road, come back, and you have like 36 events. Each one has 4 video clips. So like 144 video files to go scan through to see if something happened to your car.
To see if someone scratched your car. Yeah.
It's impossible. It's dumb. So it's just
not like a Nest Cam where you get like, oh, here's an event. You click on it, like pulls
so
up right
so
away.
so they have this thing called the Roadie, which is like the Nest Cam. You can connect to it wirelessly from your phone while you're in the car. So I'm like, this is brilliant. In fact, I was working on a product like that myself as just a hack, not like a product to sell. But I went and did that, and I'm like, dude, everyone's gonna love this. Yeah, no one cares. No one cares. Like,
do you
in
think
terms
it was
of YouTube,
like a title and thumbnail thing, or just like a?
Yeah, it could be,
because that's part of the game. It
is
wrong title, wrong thumbnail sometimes.
Well, and then I posted a video on my birthday actually on January 27th, which was the day after Kobe crashed. So guess what? Like, whatever video, it doesn't matter. Like, so sometimes things just happen. And so it's really hard to say how things are going to go. You know what I mean? So sometimes, it's like, the wind just doesn't go in your direction. And no matter how good or title the thumbnail was,
you keep going sailing until it does. And
right. You just gotta keep going, man.
So to close out, I want to hear what you think the next 5 to 10 to even 20 years are going to be like for electric vehicles. So
okay.
I would say I'm bullish on Tesla. Like you were saying that they forged the way, and now these companies are seeing that people want it. Mm-hmm. Where I'm assuming you've seen the documentary "Who Killed the Electric Car."
Yep.
Some of this battery technology wasn't as great back then, but
sure.
Electric cars could have happened way sooner, and big car companies didn't do it.
Right.
Is basically what that documentary showed me. And that they actually collected all of the cars and destroyed them for whatever reason. Let's not get into politics. But so Tesla has forged this path, and now other big companies are committing to we're going to be electric by 2025, right. They're not going to hit that. But so where do you see the next 5, 10, 20 years? And is Tesla going to continue just like keep growing market share, or do you think that they're still going to be like this niche brand and people are going to go electric, but they're going to stick with the car companies they kind of want to be with?
It's an interesting question. So I think already Tesla's challenge is production, and they're
just keeping up with demand.
Yeah. Like they have a backlog of people waiting. A friend of mine in Orange County, up in Irvine, had to wait 9 weeks to get his Model 3. 9 weeks. That's a long wait, and he's in California. Because he's not out
in another country.
He's not in Argentina. Like, hey, can you ship one to me? It'll take 9 weeks on a boat. Like, no, he's literally not far. So
they can't make him fast enough right now.
Right. So I think that may actually force people to go elsewhere. But they've really they were the spark that lit the fire here. But let's be honest about it. It's still barely 2% of the market. It's a very small percentage of the market. And I think Elon said it, even if you stopped making gas cars today, it'd be 20 to 25 years before all cars were electric.
Yeah.
So we've got a long way ahead. Tesla is the one that is driving it, creating that interest, and it being in California, it being in music videos and movies. I mean, those may seem like dumb things, but they have a big impact in the world, right? Like, why do a lot of people that have never been to America come here and go to McDonald's the first time or go to In-N-Out Burger, even though In-N-Out's not great? You know what I mean? I know it's controversial to say, but, I don't choose to go there generally.
Yeah.
So, but it's a thing where I think they are creating that worldwide interest in electric vehicles. And if other automakers can deliver compelling products, then we will see a market shift. Volkswagen has committed a huge amount to electric vehicles. Ford is really diving in. They're kind of dipping their toe in it, but they have a very compelling product. Porsche has one, but Porsche is a niche automaker anyways. I think worldwide it's like 300,000 cars. So in the grand scheme of things, they're not super important.
Even more expensive than the most expensive Tesla.
It's ridiculous, yeah. But it's, they're doing it. In any regard, it creates interest.
Right.
All of a sudden now people that are buying Lambos and Ferraris are like, oh, really? I can buy a $250,000 Porsche? Okay. And then what happens is they look at it and they go, oh, well, it's not as fast as a Tesla, though. Maybe I should just buy the Tesla.
Yeah.
So I actually think it's going to help Tesla, but they can't, even with the China factory and potentially and the Berlin factory. I mean, we're looking at like maybe 1 million cars in a year or two at best. In terms of like annual production, that's still nothing. That's still tiny, the small potatoes.
How many cars are sold in a year in the
I think in
world?
the U.S. it's like 17 million.
Okay.
Worldwide, I couldn't tell you.
Too big, yeah.
It's a lot, 40, 50 million, maybe 100 million or something.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And when we think about this too, like it's real easy for us to have the blinders on and think, oh, well, everyone lives in a town like we live in, and this is the kind of cars.
I live in Southern California, and I see 7 Teslas when I go to the gym.
Right, exactly. But also you have to think about there's the whole commercial vehicle fleet. And yeah, Tesla is making a semi-truck, but that's one commercial vehicle. There are lots of other ones. So
There's Amazon vans, there's UPS trucks. There's,
so I think the trend is going electric. 5 years, I would imagine electric cars from multiple automakers would be fairly commonplace and fairly good. Right now, the problem is they're just not good. That's why I haven't until the Ford one and then the Porsche one. Those are the only two. Actually, I did a Chevy Bolt a while ago, which is actually a fairly decent electric car.
But Volt and a Bolt.
The Volt is dead.
Okay, the Volt they killed off.
That was the plug-in hybrid, which is actually still great. I have a couple friends that are like, I go to the gas station twice a year. This is amazing. And I think it's a stepping stone, right? It's like your gateway drug. It's like, okay, now I want a full electric. So
I would have thought the Prius would have been that, but I feel like Toyota's really slow on the pickup for the electric. And they're doing hydrogen and...
Toyota's they're kind of the anti-electric car company right now. Like they sided with the Trump administration against the CARB regulations that California put in place, which Volkswagen and all these other big automakers signed on for. Mm-hmm. So there's all the politics of it are all kinds of wacky.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I think what Tesla has done and is doing is creating that market demand for it. And when there's a market demand for it, the politics and the rules don't matter. Right, because we're talking about
companies want to make money.
Right, we're talking about consumers here. Right, we're not talking about like in B2B stuff or in more industrial production of things. You can regulate a business into, into old age. Right, of like, hey, well, we're going to force you to operate this way. But consumers don't care about your regulations. Right, consumers want what they want, and when they see what's Will Smith's son name? Jaden. Yeah, when they see him doing a music video in a Model X, and when they see Travis Scott with a Cybertruck, and when you see David Dobrik and people like that all up in their Tesla with Justin Bieber and stuff, that's what people want, right? And so I think that the market will force the whole industry to really shift. And Tesla, despite their best efforts, will not be able to keep up with all of that demand, which I don't think is the point. I don't think Elon's vision ever is, let's kill every other car company and be the only one. I don't think that's what they want.
Well, their patents are public.
Right, yeah. So they want everyone to go electric, and most companies are, coming around to that, right? Like as you mentioned, Volkswagen. But yeah, ironically, Toyota is like one of the people that's very anti-electric cars, even though they made the Prius, which is so weird how this whole thing happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would guess 5 years we'll see electric cars will be commonplace from lots of different automakers. They're already kind of getting there, right? Like the Nissan Leaf has been around for a while. The Chevy Bolt's been around for a while.
The i8 I see around.
The i8, that's the sports car one, right?
Yeah, what's the i3?
The i3.
Yeah, the boxy BMW one.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate that because the BMW, like, you guys make beautiful cars. What the hell is this?
And then they made a Scion hamster
Yeah,
box
what is
on
this
wheels.
nonsense?
Yeah.
So I think I mean there are a lot of electric vehicles out there that are non-Teslas that are haven't been very good. They're not compelling as a product, which is why they don't see mass adoption, because it's like, well, it's a pain in the butt. Why would I buy that one? But then when you see Teslas as like better than your gas car, now I want it. So I think we'll start to see more and more of those. In 5 years, we'll see it'll be somewhat commonplace. 10 years, it'll be kind of, I would guess we would see a good chunk of the market, new cars being sold are electric. And then 20 years, it could be full on. Like gas cars are, very specific. Like Ford makes a Shelby GT Mustang, blah, 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 that, the whole purpose of it is to be loud and obnoxious. And it's actually not as fast as the electric Mustang that they make, but it's loud and obnoxious, and that's what they want. So I think 20 years, I could definitely see a future of like basically no new cars, with the exception of, Lamborghini or something that's specifically a niche product being electric.
What about motorcycles? Why is there not a...
There are.
There are fully electric motorcycles
for
that
sure.
are like...
they're not as good as regular motorcycles, yeah.
Right, but why isn't Honda or Tesla or whoever making...
Well, Tesla's not making them because Elon got hit by a truck on a motorcycle when he was a kid, and he just said, I'm never making a motorcycle.
Really? See, I never knew that.
Yeah. It was during a shareholders meeting last year, sometime, I forget when. But
so he got hit, and he just either he's not safe, so he doesn't want to make more of them.
He's like, nope, not it. In fact, we don't talk about it enough because there's so much other stuff to talk about, but Teslas are the safest cars ever made. If you look at the NHTSA
all the crash
ratings,
reports and
and it's funny because they actually, there was this big dispute and this big dumb argument about it, but they put out very detailed statistics about every single car they've ever rated, and the best three are the Tesla Model 3, the Tesla Model S, and the Tesla Model X by a good margin. So you look at it, and so safety is a big part of Tesla's kind of vision as well. And so a motorcycle doesn't, like, the safest motorcycle is still
interesting.
Yeah, so they're
still
out.
A death trap.
Yeah, it's still, you get hit by a truck. You still got hit by a truck.
Yeah.
So they're out on that. But Zero Motorcycles is doing a thing. Honda, I don't know if Honda's doing one. Harley actually has one. I don't think it's out yet, but they've unveiled it and they've pre-sold it. So. Yeah, so I think it's going there. The challenge from an actual tech standpoint is the size. Motorcycles are very small, even
you need
with
the battery space.
Right.
Yeah.
So even with gas, what you can put 3-5 gallons maybe.
You need like this side saddle that's just batteries.
Yeah, but then it adds weight.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like the rocket equation of like, well, how much? So I don't know if we'll ever have a really compelling, unless we have a major leap forward in battery technology, right? If we can do that, which we may have here very soon.
It'll be strapped to the side, like right by your legs.
Yeah,
probably,
yeah, because right now, it'll get like maybe 50, 60 miles of range on it just because the space you have is so limited. It's like the Fiat 500e, which is a really cool, it's like the Fiat 500, but it's an electric one. Super cool. Like, I think it's really fun to drive this it's kind of like a go-kart. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But the thing goes like 70, 80 miles at best on a charge.
We looked at one because my wife's always liked them. She studied abroad in Italy. She loves Fiats. And so I was like, let's check out the electric one. And it's like 85-mile range.
Right.
That was a couple years ago. But
and part of that is the physical size. It doesn't have
room for batteries.
You'd have to like stack them on top of each other.
That's why a Cybertruck's really long. It's really long. You get a lot of batteries, a lot of power. You got to pull and
right. That's in fact where I think a lot of companies are looking at trucks as a much better option, really, because there's just so much room. And in terms of weight, it almost doesn't matter that much because electric motors are so strong that really what happens is there's just added friction in the tires is the limiting factor. So, it could weigh 10,000 pounds, but the motors could easily push that. So. Yeah, I think the bigger form factors, for better or for worse, are just better currently with the battery tech we have. So,
self-driving, future of self-driving. Do you think that other companies will be able to do what Tesla is doing technology-wise?
No chance. Nope.
No.
Zero chance.
So they're going to try to figure it out, and they're going to probably just eventually license whatever Tesla does. That would make sense. Tesla lets them.
That would make a lot of sense.
Because I've always thought that there are two solutions to traffic.
Okay.
Double or triple decker roads is one.
Sure.
Very expensive. Because there's all you can do is go up.
Right.
Like there's
or down.
Not room to go wide in most places.
Boring tunnels, company
exactly.
tunnels.
You go down. I guess you can go down. Or don't let humans drive. Like that's honestly the issue, because just like seeing brake lights, like that can cause traffic an hour later. And like that whole charade. So you think self-driving is just not going to expand as much because
Well,
just the amount of other cars on the road and the other manufacturers
no,
not doing it
it's the
as
data.
good a job? Yeah,
It's the data is what it comes down to. So when you look, okay, so Tesla has close to 1 million cars on the road. All of them are collecting data every single day as they drive and as they go everywhere. They are like orders of magnitude ahead in terms of how much data they have. And they have arguably the best AI team on the planet. Like Andrej Karpathy, the guy that leads that team, is the guy that like created the program at Stanford for this thing. So their team is like stellar. They've got more data than anyone, and they've got more cars on the road that can help increase the usefulness of that data. So what happens that they did a whole amazing presentation on it, but like a car will have it will not react to something properly. And what happens is that sends up a trigger. That trigger goes out to every other car in the world and says, hey, send me what you did when you saw something like this. And then, okay, now I understand that. Cool. Now let me learn from this entire fleet of like 1 million vehicles out there every day. So
and then let me update them overnight.
Well, yeah.
Eventually,
but the updates don't come, it's not real time
Right.
machine learning.
Right, yeah.
They come with software updates.
Right.
But point being, Waymo is what people would talk about as potentially the next closest because they have actual self-driving things with no driver in it, driving them around. But I forget what it is, like 1,000 cars maybe, and they're in kind of a geo-fenced area where they drive. Yeah. And I'm from Phoenix, where they are operating, and it's like perfect flat roads, well lit, everything,
Yeah.
no snow, no rain, no none of that. So in terms of who's going to do it or anything, Tesla it's not even a contest, right? It's me and LeBron James one-on-one. It's not even what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So that's really how that's going. I really hope that, Tesla, I think, could become kind of like Qualcomm, where they license out their software, they license out their bits to other automakers. So that way, Ford or GM or anyone else that wants to do it just gets the data and the machine learning algorithm stuff from them, and they just pay a fee.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, the other companies trying to do it, like, bottom line, whoever has the most data is who's going to win that race, and Tesla is light years ahead. So I don't know if I'm still actually pretty. I'm kind of a bear on it. Like I don't think we'll really see self-driving. Like the car can do it. Forget regulations.
Yeah.
5 years maybe. I think we'll see a car that can really. It still won't actually be totally self-driving.
Yeah.
Because in order to solve that, like, you need to be able to like drive through the desert in Baja, like I can do as a human, but the car needs to figure it out.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like, so true 100% self-driving, like no steering wheel. But, in between here and there is a big step forward. So I think we'll start to see some major steps forward in the next 5 years. I don't see anyone else really coming close to what Tesla's able to do. So,
but even just like trailing a car in traffic by 4 car lengths or 7 car lengths, whatever you want to set it to.
Yeah.
The more cars that have that.
Yeah, right.
In theory, the traffic should be better because it'll flow.
No,
like
100%.
Like water
so,
and not
so
like.
I think that's an important distinction that some people don't really think about hard enough. Is that that's like driver assist. That's not even self-driving at all,
mm-hmm.
right? That's like literally a radar sensor and updating the speed. Lots of cars can do that already, regardless of electric.
Or slamming on the brakes when someone cuts you off and you can't react as fast as a computer. And like those types of safety and traffic-related things, I think,
right. Automatic emergency
more
braking.
excited than like
right.
It can go on ramps and off ramps. It's like I can do that without thinking.
Right.
Like I still can drive my own car.
Yeah.
But I want other people's cars to drive themselves. I don't want my car to drive itself.
Well, I think what we want is everyone to be safer and
mm-hmm.
to drive more smoothly or whatever. But there is a huge gap between like where we're at today and my car doesn't have a steering wheel. The completely like so far apart, those things.
Or you're rear facing in the front talking to somebody or playing chess or something.
Yeah, like so between here and there are so many things we can do that will increase driver safety and increase reduce congestion. So I think we can make a lot of progress on that without achieving what we would really call level 4, level 5 autonomy, which is like, go get in the back of the car and go to sleep. Which is that's where it is. And now some people you hear out there, and even Elon kind of overhypes it a little bit. He just clarified it on earnings call. It's funny because previously he was saying full self-driving feature complete. I think the general public read that as like, it's done, it's good, it's perfect, it's going to work well, it's like whatever. He clarified in an earnings call, feature complete means it has a greater than 0% chance of working. So like it's the big difference in people's perception of what that means. Like, for example, have you seen the Smart Summon?
Oh, is that in the parking lot?
Yeah.
And then there's all the videos of people like
hitting a car or something.
A smart car and a dumb car with a driver in it, like like playing chicken, like who's gonna go and like what do I do? And
but if I took you to a parking lot, or took most people and showed them that in my car, I think a lot of people would say it's self-driving. That's it. And I agree, like that appears to be self-driving, but it is not at all the actual definition of level 4 or level 5 autonomy. Like those are still light years away. So I think we can, we're going to get there eventually. I think in 5 years, we'll see Teslas be able to basically drive themselves on city roads and, but then again, if I'm pulling off on the side of the beach in Mexico, I don't know if it's going to, that's a case where I'm going to trust it or it's going to just automatically figure it out.
Yeah, I always think of the scene in The Office where Dwight and Michael are driving and the GPS tells them to turn right.
Right, yeah.
And Dwight's like, don't turn right. And he's like, he says turn right. And he like drives into a lake. And so it's like,
exactly.
That's what's going to happen. And then that's what's going to be in the news. And that's what people are going to talk about. And you're going to just have to run the data of how many times that actually happened. Like, do you have videos about like how many Tesla accidents there are versus other?
Yeah.
Because it's always in the news of like, ooh, a Tesla and a fatal accident, or like hitting somebody when it was in self-driving, or the person fell asleep, or that sort of thing, versus all the other car accidents and deaths that happen.
Yeah, I think it's like every 40 seconds or something, somebody dies from a car accident in this country.
In this country?
Yeah.
Not in the world?
It's insane. It's a tremendous amount of fatalities per day. So anyways, it's crazy. But Tesla does release information on this. Their autopilot safety report comes out every quarter along with their earnings call and everything else. And I've done a couple videos on it already where I look at, because the NHTSA in the US, basically a government agency that tracks this, not just for Tesla but for everyone, puts out the similar stats. And it's hard to have apples to apples comparison, but you're looking at, last time I remember, it was like 2.8 or 2.7 million miles driven for a crash-like event. So I'm not talking a fatality. I'm talking just a crash, an actual accident. That's Tesla in autopilot. The average from the NHTSA is like 250,000 miles.
Jeez.
So we're like an order of magnitude.
Yeah,
we're full order of magnitude apart. However, there's a lot of caveats here. One is that the NHTSA is all cars driving in any scenario, not just on the freeway, which is where autopilot is primarily used. People do use it outside of that. We've seen a lot of mistakes that it's made on surface streets because, well, surprise, surprise, it's not ready.
Yeah.
But point being, so you can't really just say it's one-to-one. And then you look at, crashes where autopilot wasn't engaged, but it was a Tesla, and that's still 4 or 5 times better than the NHTSA average. So it clearly, I would say, all the signs point to, yes, it is safer to be in autopilot than not. But it's really difficult to have a true apples to apples comparison and say with confidence, oh, it's 7 times safer. I would venture a guess it's maybe 2 times safer, trying to be conservative. But really, like, just the question is it safer? Yes, it is. Right? How much? Well, it varies a lot. Like, we live in Southern California. People drive like maniacs. So, people in the north, you lived in Seattle, right? So people drive slow.
Yep.
So naturally you're going to have fewer fatalities up there, right? So there's a lot of nuance to those numbers, but it's going to save a lot of lives when most cars have these kind of features.
Well, let's wrap up there. Where can people go to find your YouTube channel? Maybe if they want to even take some of your data science courses.
Sure.
And just kind of follow what you're doing online now.
Yeah, so at Teslanomics on YouTube is where you find me there. If you're on LinkedIn Learning, you just search my name, Ben Sullins, or if you're on Pluralsight, just search my name. I think I have 13 courses on each.
Okay.
So yeah, and they're still going strong. Some of them are like a bit stale at this point. It's like, well, this programming language was new 5 years ago, but some of them are more evergreen, where it's like, how to understand big data or something like that. So
well, cool. Well, thanks for joining me, Ben. I know we
Absolutely.
covered a lot. Talked about YouTube courses, went in depth into Tesla for a while there at the end.
Anytime. This is me paying you back for all the time I'm texting you, asking you questions about lighting gear.
Which light stand or
Yeah,
which camera, why isn't this working? Yeah, no, perfect.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Cheers, man.